And good evening. You're watching Real Time, Real Topics. I'm Nikki Simos, and of course, I'm joined this evening, for those who don't know, with the lovely Kosta. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share your surname, Kosta. Can I share the surname, or are we just saying Kosta? And the reason why I was hesitant is because of the different professions that you were once in and now that you're changing into, which is going to be our prime focus of conversation this evening. However, before we get into that, how are you, Kosta Nikolitis?
It's been a wonderful first day of spring today up here in the countryside of Victoria. So it's been absolutely lovely. And yesterday as well, really enjoying nature and this time of the year, even though some of our movements are a little bit limited. It's just really nice to be outside and get a little bit of sun.
Absolutely. First day of spring for me was very pleasant. I enjoyed the sunshine. I enjoyed the walk. I enjoyed watching people cut the grass with their lawnmowers after so much rain. So it's been a pleasant outdoor experience. And of course, all the work that goes behind the scenes, but it's been a great day. Lots of good energy and wonderful encapsulating vitamin D day, shall we say.
Much necessary vitamin D, hey.
Especially these days with us all being indoors and not many people getting there and getting out and about, which is
right.
Now, Kosta, I have to ask, you were once a psychologist and potentially you still are a psychologist. You have been in the industry for many years now, and yet you made a decision sometime in your journey to change career paths. Yes. So first of all, what got you into psychology in the first place?
Yes, psychology, I made a decision when I was 16 years old, hey.
So gotta start somewhere.
1.5 generations ago, I made that decision because I really wanted to understand why people do what we do. Not only people around me, but also myself. So it was a decision based on a level of introspection that I had even as a young boy, to understand more about what makes this tick and what makes this work. And since I had this, I don't know, a given ability to be able to connect with people really easily, I thought, what would be a good profession where I can actually learn about myself and help people by connecting with them? So I decided to study psychology, even though the study of psychology was not what I thought it was going to be, because psychology, me being of a Greek background, to me meant the study of the soul or the word of the soul. However, when I started studying psychology, it was not the word of the soul, it was the study of behavior. So it was a little bit different to what I initially thought it was going to be, yet I found it very, very illuminating and very rewarding in terms of understanding a lot about myself, as well as about how the world around me works and how to help people navigate through the struggles that we come across on a daily basis. So I stayed in psychology I dedicated about 26 years of my life in psychology. And I work with literally thousands of people in corporate psychology, in educational psychology, and then in clinical psychology, working in a clinical setting. And after 26 years of seeing what it is that I was seeing, something clicked inside my head and gave me an idea for a change in career. The model of psychology is the medical model. And in the medical model, everybody is considered, in inverted commas, sick, or sometimes not in inverted commas, and that they need fixing. And even though the patients I've been working with for the years that I've been working, everybody achieves change. I noticed that change was happening rather slowly. So I thought that something was missing. I've always been a man of action. I
Mhm.
mean, you know that because you probably know me as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I realized that there must be a different way to actually approach people's problems and to help them achieve the results they want quicker.
Mm.
And so I looked into life coaching, and particularly a field of life coaching um, that involves neurolinguistic programming. And that literally changed my life, Nikki. And
I laugh at that because I totally understand. So when we were very blessed, actually, our paths crossed, and we were very blessed that we were able to unite probably a good, well, maybe 6-7 years ago now, I think.
That's right, yeah.
And when we first met, I met you as a psychologist, and I would speak about my NLP training, and you'd be going, "Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting."
Yeah.
And I do remember being fortunate to have some referrals from your constituents that could potentially be ready for action, because that's what we're all about, you know, the flip side of your thinking and how you can change that psychology in the talk that we have internally and the dialogue that we do in order to take action. And I also remember you saying, do not fix them too quickly. Because the action that is taken is quite profound, and it does change the way we actually think and act in our behavior, in our thought, in our process, our emotions, and so forth. So I'm really pleased you decided to jump on board. It took you a while, but you're here now, which is fantastic. So welcome to the NLP world.
Yes, yeah. Hello, it's good to see you.
So
And
go on.
little did I realize when I said that to you a few years back now, that people don't actually need fixing. I was working with a model of psychology, which is the medical model, as I said. And once I understood through the processes and theory of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, how the unconscious works as well as the conscious, I realized that everybody has got the resources that we need to actually get out of whatever rut we might be in within ourselves. All that is required is the right kind of questions, the right kind of great questions, to be quite honest. And people transform immediately. That's what I found very profound, not only for as a therapist. I found it profound as a client, because in order for anybody to learn NLP and become a coach, we have to become the client ourselves.
That's right.
And we have to go through the processes that we will later on do as therapists. And oh my Lord, it was profound. Change happened instantly.
I totally can relate to that, Kosta, because I know that when I had my personal experience in learning, in particular hypnosis, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment because that's what you offer, is that my like and dislike for switching in the mind, and some people will think about this and think, what are they talking about? But it's one of the tools that we use in the process of hypnosis, and the scripts that are uses with the dialogue that helps the mind unconsciously in a conscious state transfer that thinking, was oysters. And oysters was my dislike and chocolate was my like.
Right.
And I'm going, look, if this really does work, I would be really, really surprised, because I had a phobia of oysters. I couldn't sit at the table. My father was a fisherman, so guess what he brought home all the time? Seafood, you know, so oysters and seafood. And so, of course, sitting at the table with oysters, I'd sit at the other end of the table. The smell, I'd regurgitate just on the smell and the look, and I was repulsed by the whole experience. And then, of course, you know, we go out for meals and people order oysters, or be it Kirkpatrick or raw, and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you, not for me. And I said, well, if you think this works, I need to figure it out and find out if it truly is what it is they say it to be. And lo and behold, after my hypnosis session and through the trial of experience and evidence whether it does work or it doesn't work.
Mhm.
My love for chocolate became my switch for oysters. So to put it to the test, I bought oysters the following day. Not an issue. I went for the chocolate and I went, oh my goodness, I can't eat the chocolate. This is not good.
It's fabulous.
Then I kind of thought about it in different ways, like the calories and the weight gain.
Yeah. I might say it's fabulous.
Which was wonderful. And even till today, and this is now going back, for me, it was 2014 when I had that experience. So it's some years ago, that now I still have, because I guess my unconscious state of belief and where that is, that idea of like and dislike, I can regulate it, which is wonderful. So I have complete control of what, you know, if I want an oyster, or if I don't want an oyster,
Yes.
and if I want some chocolate. But yet it's still interesting that it's less of chocolate, and I'm happy to have an oyster. Which is very good for the soul, they tell me, and other things.
You know, that was my my first experience with NLP processes as well. The like to dislike.
But the oyster too.
Oh, that's the oyster. My kryptonite was chisels, and no, those once delicious things. And my partner, who is also a master coach, she did the process of like to dislike. This goes back to before April, I think around March this year. So about 4 or 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're talking to a guy that would eat a party pack of
Yes.
Cheetos to himself in one sitting,
Yes.
several times a week. And I have not touched not only Cheetos, but any other type of potato chip or snack for about 4 or 5 months almost.
Yeah.
It happened instantly. And this is it's actually a really practical process, and a very simple process. It takes what, 20 minutes to actually go through it, where any kind of addiction that we have of particular foods, you can actually eliminate it in 20 minutes.
That's right. That's right. Biting your nails, smoking,
Absolutely.
some of the other things, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
It's insane. It's insane.
It is. Now, that's you as a hypnotherapist. Now, tell me about your wonderful other services that you will now be able to offer, and how it gives the opportunity of freedom for that individual, because the difference being a patient or client, participant, whatever reference you have, as the wording of descriptors for the people that come to you as once a psychologist, you're, you know, empathetically listening and being present with no action in place. Whereas here now, the big game changer is the opportunity to be able to use methodologies that are workable and profound and evidence-based in seconds, in moments, for individuals that can transform literally their lives. So share with us some of those things that you'd like to share.
Right. Well, you speak of hypnotherapy and hypnosis, and I'll make the distinction here that whereas neuro-linguistic programming it involves a state of trance in some processes, all activities that we do are actually states of trance. Have you ever, I mean, even driving,
yes,
state of trance for people, when we're just cooking or washing the dishes, that's another state of trance. And in neuro-linguistic programming, some of the processes do involve states of trance as well. I mean, the client coming into the room, within a few minutes, we create a state of trance to begin with. And that's somewhat different to the pure form of hypnosis that I do with certain clients as well, where it just is pure hypnosis. And that type of hypnosis that I've been honored to actually learn from, I'm not going to say the developers' names because I haven't had permission, is a type of hypnosis called conscious hypnosis. And it is very different to the hypnosis that you typically associate the word with.
Mm.
Because conscious hypnosis involves programs. And after the session is finished, people are given self-hypnosis homework and tasks that they need to carry out throughout the week until the second session of the program or the third session of the program. And we find that, well, some of my clients that I've worked with already, and I'm not using any names once again, went from being petrified of public speaking to developing online media, live videos on a daily basis within a matter of 5 weeks.
Yes, yes.
I've had people quit their smoking habit within 5 weeks. I've had people lose weight 1 kilo per week consistently for 5 weeks to up to 3 months until they come to their desired weight. And then their weight loss just stops and the metabolism stabilizes. And all of these things are really fascinating because they involve the unconscious. You know, unconscious and subconscious, people interchange those two words. I'll just use the word unconscious for the sake of our discussion tonight, because it's such a wonderful world. The guy that spoke about the concept first, Dr. Freud, called it the dark side of the mind.
Yes.
I don't mean that it's dark because it's evil. It's similar to the dark side of the moon, that you know is there, but you just don't have access to it. You can't see it because all you see is the light side of the moon, right? So in both hypnosis, conscious hypnosis, as well as neuro-linguistic programming processes, we really involve and we work with the unconscious because it involves 96% of our total consciousness. Yes, 96. Only 4% of our consciousness is what we are aware of at any given point in time.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we can affect change in psychology, for example, with that, just working with that 4%, which is what we do as psychologists. The person is conscious, they tell us their story, we give them coping mechanisms, and they put them in place in order for them to affect change. If we can affect change only with that working with that 4%, can you imagine the amount of change we can affect if we're working with the other 96?
Yes, yes. Yeah, definitely mind-blowing. I know, I've been there. I think it's wonderful.
Right.
And it's a great form of meditation and medication for your brain.
I'll go with medication. It's really good medication.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot cheaper than what you would be spending long term, you know. Yes, for
and
sure.
healthier for your liver too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's lots of great, you know, pluses for having this process done. And so I understand that some of your methodologies and processes is in order to literally transform the individual from where they're at and what is of concern to them based on their status of where they feel they're stuck in this present time in their life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah.
Clients come to me talking about a presenting issue. And during the discussion that we have, all other stuff ends up coming up. And the process that I use with NLP processes, something called, well, it involves a matrix, let's say. And that matrix has certain aspects of life that can be worked on, such as negative emotions that a person might be having, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, pain, embarrassment, other ones. And through particular processes, those things get resolved. And they get resolved the minute we actually do the process. And the results are actually long lasting. In fact, some clients don't need to come back about those particular emotions for a year or even 2 years. And then they might need a top up in inverted commas if it's causing a problem again in their life.
Yeah.
Other processes involve dealing with negative influences that we have had in our lives. And they can be friends or partners or parents or siblings that have had a deep impact in who we are as people. So there are processes that we do that actually allow you to release those people from your life, and therefore let go of the problems that have developed as part of that connection with those people. There are processes that allow you to identify any limiting beliefs that you may have, or decisions that you have made throughout your life as you've been growing up, that are stopping you from actually achieving what you want. And there are, once again, processes that allow you to untangle and let go of those beliefs and create new beliefs in order for you to actually make better decisions and live a better life. When you put those three, if I can just say, just that set of three different processes in place, the transformation you get is so profound that I literally cannot describe it, and neither can my patients. My patients tell me after last week, everything is profound, and because they can't explain it, I go, yeah, look, I understand, because I've been there as well. So unless you actually go through it, you can't really describe how important it is and how significant it is.
Yeah, great. And that's a lovely segue into our next part of our wonderful Real Time, Real Topics conversations. And that's about looking at people's core needs. You know, at the moment, you know, we unfortunately are experiencing, you know, COVID, and you're hearing of profound situations internationally of different parts of the world, and can be quite disheartening for those that are affected because their families might be there and part of that. And yet, we have our core needs as people and individuals in relation to how it fits under the umbrella of what we value, what we believe, what is significant, what is our growth span, what is our contributions. And there are many different umbrellas, if you like, of areas that we need. And I know there are 6 of them. And I'd love to just indulge a little bit, and we won't probably get through all of them, but just to skim on the one that I think is significant for me. And that is more importantly of a bigger picture, which I think affects everybody in our generation today. And that's the love for self and the love for others.
Yes.
So let's look at love as one of the core needs.
Yeah, love or connection.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, I think that if we are to speak about the core needs, it's important to just make a little bit of introduction for some people who do not know what they are.
Absolutely.
We're not speaking about the need for shelter, food, warmth, and so on. We're not looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What we're looking at are 6 core needs, 4 of which are about the personality, and 2 of which are about our spirit. That's how they're classified. And the concept was developed by, can't use any names, a really famous coach with a very big smile and very big hands.
Yes. I'm not going to say it either. We'll let our audience do their research and come back to us.
Coach with a very big smile and very big. And I'm thankful to him for actually sitting down and developing this concept, because these needs, they're more than just desire or wants. They're very significant, and they underpin our everyday behavior, because all 6 of them must be met at some level on a daily basis. They're the drivers of our behavior. And we're looking at the need for certainty versus variety. We're looking at the need for significance versus love or connection. And we're looking at the need for growth versus the need for contribution. You want to speak about the need for love, you say, the one that's about connection.
Well, I think it's important for everybody in our community who listens to these programs, because there is a bigger picture here, and the work that we do, and I say we because I too do very similar work to you, and the disconnect of where people are sitting within themselves, and often asking, why does this happen to me? You know, what's the purpose of me doing this, and why are these reasons, and there's always no answer. There's empty outcomes for people. And I guess the bigger picture, because I'm a lady of faith, is being able to put it into perspective of the Creator, God's love, and how he impacts and influences us, but more importantly, how the work that we do in this space does connect with love and connection.
Yes. I love how you put it. And when we're talking about the core need of love or connection, it is connection or love with other people, as well as with ourselves, as well as with our community, as well as with our faith, as well as with our nature, or other things that we can connect with. It is one of the things that we all need a lot of at the moment, as well as this other need of certainty, which we're all struggling with because of these uncertain times. The need for love or connection can be met, like all the other needs, either helpfully or unhelpfully, resourcefully or unresourcefully, if you like those words. If we're to meet it resourcefully, we can connect with people in a healthy way, with appropriate, give and take, because so often we find that people can, in some literature that I've read, they can be divided into two different categories: givers and takers.
Yes.
And, look, I can't blame the takers for wanting to take, because clearly they're lacking in something. And I can't fault the givers in wanting to give, because that satisfies something inside us as well, intrinsically. I think that a balance between the two is very, very important, because people as givers oftentimes forget that they have needs as well, and they need to allow people to give back to them.
Yes.
Which brings a very interesting concept, that because I've met a lot of people in my life that like to give, but don't feel comfortable in receiving. And we can talk about the reason for that more explicitly at another time. But it comes down to actually self-esteem and self-acceptance. People with low self-esteem are not ready to accept, but they're very ready to give. And whenever I've spoken with people about, I think it's important for you to actually start looking after number one as well. They say, no, Kosta, that's selfish. And I've actually had some really heated discussions with people, which I diffused as much as I could before I said, okay, that's your opinion, that's mine, see you later.
Yes. And people are entitled to that, that's
exactly
okay.
right.
Yes.
Saying that it was really selfish to receive and to take from anybody, and to put yourself as number one in your life. And I thought to myself, if we don't put ourselves as number one, how can we give the most that we possibly can to those who matter to us? We are at the center of all our actions. And unless we actually learn to show love toward the self and connect with the self, we will not be able to give the most to everybody around us the way they need it or the way that we want to. Because eventually, since we're not looking after ourselves and not showing love toward the self, our reserves of giving are going to run down. They're going to become depleted, our resources. So it's very important, I think, to actually start looking at ourselves and looking after ourselves and loving ourselves and thinking of ourselves as important. Because if everybody else is important, damn it, we are as well.
100%.
Otherwise, we are saying that we are more exceptional than everybody else.
Absolutely.
That in itself is egotistic and self-centered.
Yeah.
I think that we are so special that our needs are completely different to everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's important to do it. And what might help some people is, it's not a matter of being selfish or self-absorbed. It is a matter of self-preservation. If we want to connect with people and to show our love to others endlessly and give them abundance of it, we first need to have those reserves in ourselves to give from. So it is about self-preservation, to love oneself and to look after our own personal needs.
I think I'd like to just touch on something you said a little bit earlier, and that was in regards to the idea of, you know, you're having a conversation with somebody and you were in a place in that conversation where potentially they had their opinion and you had yours.
Okay.
The work that we do is quite confrontational, and for the first time for some people, that can be quite true evidence of discovery for themselves. And so trusting the process in what you have to deliver and ensuring that that person, although it's about them, because you're talking about that individual, it's about personalizing it, but at the same time trusting the process that you are being offered and being open to that space of, as we're talking, love, connection and contribution.
Yes. When we're working with people and that resistance sometimes happens, I, as a practitioner, I really welcome it and talk about it, because we have there's a part of the client who comes in order for them to get some help on how to figure out a better way through their life. And then whilst we're in the process, another part comes up and starts resisting the process. Well, this is actually quite a normal experience, because the unconscious, at some level or some part of the unconscious, wants to preserve the identity that it has developed for however many years or decades, because the unconscious is sitting there thinking, I am doing a great job. I've been looking after myself, or Kosta or Nikki or whatever the person is, so well for so many years. And I'm doing a wonderful job. And all of a sudden the client comes in and says that I need something changed. So the unconscious is going to go, hang on a minute.
There's a shift. That's
what
right.
do you mean you want something changed? I've been doing such a great job. So a different part comes out. And I use the word part intentionally, because one of the processes that I did not speak about before is called parts therapy. And what we try to do is we try to get two conflicting parts of a person, two different behaviors that are opposing one another, and we try to merge them together, so that there is absolutely no more conflict inside, and the person is at peace. For example, you can have a workaholic aspect to yourself, as well as this aspect that says, I just want to sit down and watch Netflix for 3 months.
3 months is a long time, but yes, hey, if you can afford to do that.
Without getting off the couch. 3 months straight.
Yep.
So clearly we see that there is two different behaviors or parts there. And through the NLP processes and therapy, we actually teach the person, or the person realizes that they can work and have fun, and they can rest whilst also being productive. They just merge into one. So that resistance that some people experience initially when they come to therapy, we can work through it in therapy. And you know, what I do with everybody is they don't just call me and I see them in the consultation room. Anybody who calls me, I send them a text and I say, look, I'd like to have a chat with you for 20 minutes, half an hour, see where you're at, see what it is that's happening for you, so we can see what it is that we can do together, and I can develop a program with you. So I spend that time with every one of my clients prior to actually seeing them. And sometimes it's a 20-minute conversation, sometimes it's a 40-minute conversation before therapy begins. So when they come into the consultation room, they know what they're in for. They know what's going to happen. We've already built rapport. We're on the same page. The client's needs and the way that I work are already aligned. So that's something that the clients don't actually experience in terms of what have I gotten myself into. You know, I always ask for permission prior to doing any of the processes that I do.
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. Well, I think that's another lovely segue into how people can actually, because this topic, you know, it's endless and it's so broad and so profound in the areas of learning for each of us to become the best possible versions of ourselves and becoming the best person that we can become. And what is really great is to share this with particularly, you know, because it caters for all ages. I mean, I'd love to particularly see a curriculum of this at very preschool age and start unfolding and unpacking these very ideas that us adults understand and can make changes and invest it in the early age of young children so that we can have a nice mold of the next generation.
That's right.
You know, and ensure that that happens one day, and that would be a mission that I'd like to work on at some point when that time allows. But more importantly is connection with you, Kosta, and what you're offering and what people can get as a takeaway. So you mentioned that there is the consultation beforehand. They could call you up or email you and connect that way to begin with. And you're going to share how they do that in a little moment. And then they'll have a package of opportunity that you would present to them, and whatever payment fee that is in the structure form that you negotiate and work out with the participant. What's the ultimate takeaway for that individual and for you at the end of it all?
At the end of the journey that a person decides to embark with me,
I say nothing.
Life is different. You know, I was working with somebody has been diagnosed with depression, and I use the words "has been diagnosed with depression" intentionally, rather than "has depression."
Yes.
Because I see depression and anxiety in a different light than when I used to when I was working as a psych.
Yes, absolutely.
And within 4 weeks from working with her, all symptoms of depression had completely disappeared.
Yeah.
Within 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wonderful, wonderful.
So when you say to me, what do they get out of it and what do I get out of it? It really, it changes your life. It transforms you into who you want to become.
Yes.
That's why I call it transformational coaching. And for me, what do I get out of it? Other than the financial contribution that the client gives me, I get a sense of joy that the choice that I've made to change careers, albeit a very difficult one to make, because I gave up 26 years of a particular career to start something new.
Yes.
The joy of that change makes me believe that I did the right thing. It was the right kind of path to take on now. So for me, it just makes me feel happy that, Kosta, you can actually help people transform their own lives still, even though you're not working as a psychologist anymore. So I love that. It's the intrinsic reward is wonderful. It's much more than the monetary reward that I get.
Yes, absolutely. And I totally agree with everything that you've said, because it's quite deep it's a deep investment for the individual, because it's their commitment to their cause and of course the financial commitment as well. But at the same time, the results are so profound that you are discovering a new you are discovering a new person on the other side. You weren't the same person that you walked in when you first met them over the phone or face to face, or complete different, hence why the transformation. And the language that is used in the process is also very imperative and important, because that's where the neuro-linguistic programming part of the brain happens.
Correct.
And so imperative that and I know through my own experience with coaching is that you hear the person transform so much that they're realizing and catching themselves out in the language they're using because they think, actually, let me rephrase or reframe that because that's actually not what I really mean.
That's right.
And so that whole learning experience and discovery of the new dialogue, the new way of thinking, the new thoughts in the process, the action that's taken, the emotion that follows it, and having someone like yourself who's invested a change of career and financial commitment in your processes to be qualified to do what you are doing, and then aim for the results that you're after for those individuals, is unexplainable as a reward, because it is a gift. It is a gift, and it's a wonderful gift to be honored to have and to be able to put into practice, knowing that you are truly and genuinely supporting that individual for the core root of the cause. That's upon right. Beginnings of conversation, which is fantastic and phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I guess then, Kosta, the famous question is, if I wasn't in this industry and that was me on the other side, I'd love to know how to get in touch with you.
Oh.
So how do people connect with you, Kosta, and what do they need to do to find you and your services?
The website that I have is under construction, almost finished, but some aspects of it are working. At the moment, people can contact me either through Facebook. The name of the company that I've started is called The Way. 2 words, 3 letters each. Coaching, training, and development. It is rather simple. So you can find that on Facebook. You can contact me through the phone on my phone number. You can find me on Google Business under the name The Way Transformational Coaching. So there are a few avenues that you can contact me through, word of mouth as well. Or they can contact you and say, how can I get in contact with Kosta?
Yes, I'm sure that I'll be inundated now that the cat's out of the bag.
And, I only like to work with 2 people a day. And the reason I say that is not because I am so precious, it's because I start a process with a client and I will work until that process is finished. And this may take 1.5 hours, 2 hours. It can take 3 hours until it's done, but we don't stop until it's done. So that's the reason that I only work with 2 clients per day, because it takes a lot of time sometimes, and for me as well as for them. And yet the results are actually there by the time that you have finished, instead of the previous work that I used to do, where you see a client for 51, 55 minutes, sorry, gotta go, I got a next one coming up.
Yeah.
And used to churn in patients as a psychologist, 6, 7, 8 patients one after the other, which was really taxing on me, and did not do them as much justice, because you can't answer everybody's questions within 50 minutes and transfer.
No.
So I dedicate as much time as necessary for each person. And the costs are according to the time that we spend. Yet the costs, I don't think, are a reflection of how much I value myself. They're more so a reflection of how much I value my clients, because I really value their life. I've seen the transformation that's happened for me, and I want them to get the same transformation. So if I say to a person, I value your success as $10, that's how much it means to me, versus I value your success at $70,000. Not that I charge that per session. The higher the value that I place on the client, the higher indication it is to them how much I care. about the work that I do with them.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's a price to put on your own well-being anyway. It's important that, you're committed to a cause that's going to change you and benefit you way quicker than you would, just the time in waiting to see a psychologist these days, in particular these days, is a waiting list of months. So, here you've got an opportunity not only to connect with a psychologist or pre-psychologist, but an opportunity to truly get action and transform your life. And no better than to be able to have someone like yourself, your skills, your knowledge, your wisdom, your passion, and based in the North. So, although it can be working anywhere because it's an online platform service that you would also support need be, and especially in these trying times. So my high recommendation is that if you're on a waiting list waiting to see someone and you haven't had any feedback for the last week or so, don't wait any longer. Go and see Kosta, book in your appointment, and make sure that you are getting the benefits that you are worthy of, because you will get your results, and you will see a difference between the waiting time compared to what you can achieve just by a consultation through connecting with Kosta. So highly recommended, and that's my biggest plug for this evening for sure. Now, the beautiful thing is, Kosta, is I know we're about to wrap up, but there's a couple of things I'm burning to ask. You've got a book coming out soon, or working on one. So I want to give the opportunity for people to at least plant the seed in their diary, and when it's ready and available, that they would be able to purchase that, and we would support that.
Absolutely. And the book is going to be available online as a download, which minimizes the costs for me as well as for the people that are actually buying it.
Yeah.
So the cost of it is not going to be anything extravagant. It's I think $7.47 to download the book that has all my 27 years of knowledge on how to beat depression in just a few quick steps.
Wow, wonderful. I look for my pro bono copy in the mail. Or even better still, after lockdown, I can hand deliver it. Or you can hand deliver it.
For you, I will print one copy out and knock at your door when we're allowed to actually leave our house.
Yes, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. And the other beautiful thing about all of that wonderful promotion is, as we support each other in this world that we're in, I too am revamping my website and welcome links for people that want to promote their services in the community, because I know how difficult it can be for some people who are trying to get a business off the ground. So that's something that I do as goodwill for the community, for members to support within our region. Wow. And looking forward to doing that. Now, one other final thing is, we had off-air discussion about the potential of having some ongoing discussions with Real Time, Real Topics in this space and in this new world that you are now exploring and growing with. I'd love to offer that as an open invitation, and for members of our community who may wish to connect with Kosta online or pre-online. So we are welcome to have inquiries and questions that you might have, where Kosta can actually respond to them prior to the program. As you know, it's a weekly program on Wednesday evenings. So if you've got something that's burning on your mind that you've heard tonight, and you felt like Kosta has touched your heart and that you want to have something be addressed, and if it's not a full-on consultation for any reason, then feel free to express that through Your Mind Ahead website, so the Your Mind Ahead Gmail, and send it through. And yeah, I'm sure Kosta will be more than happy to answer those questions. Yes,
absolutely.
Fantastic. Great. Well, again, thank you so very much for your time this evening. Thank you to our viewing audience, as always, on a weekly basis. Without notice, people do log on and do notice. And thank you for the contributions that we're looking forward to receiving as time goes on, to support you with your future and your forward steps that matter to you and nobody else. So thank you. Any final words, Kosta, for our audience?
Look, it's been a pleasure to actually reach as many of you as I have tonight, even though I cannot see who you are. And even if I speak with you in person, or if I don't speak with you in person, just want you to know that there is a way to actually move forward and to improve in any area that you want. So all it just takes is a decision and to take the first step to connect with somebody who can actually help you, because it doesn't have to be this way.
Or hence the company name, The Way, coaching, training and transformation, coaching with Kosta. So do reach out, do look it up, and we'll support and promote that on the Real Time, Real Topics Facebook page. Thanks for watching and good night.